a motion to approve the treasurer's report. Councilman Gwynn, is that your motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Great. Was that Councilman Siddiq or Phillips?
Ms. Phillips.
Oops, sorry. Felt like you guys were talking at the same time. All right. Any questions or concerns on the treasurer's report? Seeing none. Right at the end. Go for it, Gwen.
Just one quick question for David, and he may not have it right on the top of his head. How much was the interest expense that we incurred for the borrowing that we had?
It was about $38,000.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing the treasurer's report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say your name. All right, ayes have it. Thank you. Next up, we have, okay, I'm sorry, hopping back to my agenda. I did mine abbreviated. Please celebrate Memorial Day and honor all of our fallen troops. Okay. As a recap, moving to report of committees, Public Safeties Committee, co-chairs Blackwell and Burke, members Tunis Jr. and Silva, resolution number 24-21, a resolution to install a stop sign. And Solicitor Richardson, take it away.
Thank you, President Wentz. This is a resolution to provide for a stop sign at the Landfair Road at the intersection of Keystone Avenue. And that is the resolution. So ends the summary.
Oh, awesome. Great. Can we get a motion to approve resolution?
I'd like to move the motion.
24-21?
So moved.
Councilman Gwynn and Siddiq. Are there any questions or concerns on this? Seeing none. All those in favor of passing resolution 24-21, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say your name. Ayes have it. Okay, so next up we have Planning, Zoning, and Building Code Committee, co-chairs Gwynn and Billups, members Bonnet and Tunis Jr. Resolution number 27-21. Solicitor Richardson, take it away.
Thank you. This is a resolution of Upper Darby Township amending the final subdivision of MC Investments and lot line adjustment for the properties located at 8645 and 8649 Westchester Pike. This was covered at our last meeting. There has been, the applicant is proposing to subdivide its existing lot to convey a portion of the existing building that overhangs the lot line. The existing existing building faces the applicant's property and has historically been used in connection with the applicant's property, but is located over the boundary of the adjacent property located at 8645 Westchester Pike. And the applicant additionally proposes to reverse subdivide the two parcels into one parcel. The applicant has caused to be prepared and filed with the township certain boundary and subdivision plan for the project dated May 11, 2016, and it was last revised November 2020. And therefore be it resolved that the Upper Darby Township Council, that the plan is hereby granted subdivision approval subject to satisfaction of the following conditions. Prior to recording a plan, the applicant must address it to the satisfaction of the township engineer. The promise and conditions contained in the December 1st, 2020 MG Engineering review letter to the extent such comments are not already addressed by the latest version of the plan. 2, a revised recordable plan shall ultimately be submitted for township administrative review and approval that addresses all requests for further plan details, additions, corrections, and clarifications set forth in the above mentioned review letter. 3, all outstanding township fees, township's engineering fees, township's legal fees, and any other professional fees associated with the review and approval of the application and plan shall be paid in full before the plan is recorded in accordance with Section 503 of the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code. And finally, 4, new deeds for the new lots must be approved by the township engineer and thereafter recorded contemporaneously with the recording of the plans. So ends the resolution and the conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we get a motion to approve resolution 27-21?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Right, so I have Gwen and Sadiq. Questions or concerns?
Seeing none, hearing none.
Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, please make sure everyone turns your microphones on because I'm concerned that I may have forgotten to say that a moment before, since I'm trying to move quick like bunny before we all lose power again or internet. So Councilman Tunis, can you turn your mic on?
It's on.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. All those in favor of approving resolution 27-21, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say your name. Great, ayes have it. Next up, we have resolution 28-21. Solicitor Richardson, take it away. This is land development.
Thank you, President Wentz. This is a resolution of Upper Darby Township granting preliminary/final land development plan approval to the Upper Darby School District for facilities and transportation building renovations at 8201 North Lansdowne Avenue. The Upper Darby School District is the applicant and is the owner of certain tract of land with street address of 8201 North Lansdowne Avenue, located in the township's C2 traditional general commercial zoning district, generally utilized as the school district's facilities and transportation building containing an automobile service center and school district offices, a baseball field, and a school bus depot, including maintenance and repair, being taxed parcel number, which is provided. The applicant is proposing to redevelop the property by removing the automobile service center, a portion of the main building, various sheds, and a retaining wall, constructing a rain garden, redeveloping the existing parking lots, constructing a new driveway at Bond Avenue, and restructuring the curb and sidewalk in certain locations. The applicant has caused to be prepared and filed with the township certain preliminary land development plan for the project, prepared by Nate Newell, dated November 20th, 2020, and last revised March 26, 2021. And the Delaware County Planning Department has reviewed the plan and provided a letter, and the applicant now desires the council conditionally approve the plan pursuant to section 508 of the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code. Number 1, prior to the recording of the plan, the applicant shall address the comments and conditions contained in the April 22nd, 2021 MG review letter to the satisfaction of the township engineer. Number 2, prior to recording the plan, the applicant shall address all applicable comments contained in the Delaware County Planning Department review letter to the satisfaction of the township engineer. Prior to the recording of the plan, the applicant shall address all applicable comments contained in the April 20th, 2021 Alberto Federico Consulting LLC Traffic Engineering Review Letter to the satisfaction of the township traffic engineer. Applicant must obtain any necessary approvals and reviews from the township engineer, township traffic engineer, Delaware County Planning Department, Pennsylvania DEP, PennDOT, or any other necessary outside agency, and obtain any necessary planning modules, approvals, or permits before the plan is recorded. Applicant must complete all required easements and or maintenance agreements or declarations, including but not limited to a stormwater management facilities operation and maintenance agreement in form satisfactory to the township engineer and township solicitor prior to recording the plan. Applicant will provide all necessary legal descriptions for any necessary easements 6, a revised recordable plan shall ultimately be submitted for township administrative review and approval that addresses all requests for further plan details, additions, corrections, and clarifications set forth in the above mentioned review letters. Prior to recording the plan, applicant shall execute a land development agreement and financial security agreement drafted by the township security solicitor and post financial security in the form of a letter of credit, tri-party agreement / set aside account or cash escrow in a form approved by the township solicitor. 8, all reasonable outstanding township fees, township engineering fees, township's legal fees, and any other professional fees associated with the review and approval of the application and plans shall be paid in full before the plan is recorded in accordance with the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code. 9, prior to the recording of the plan, applicant shall deposit a reasonable sum to be determined by the township engineer in a cash escrow with the township as to be further described in the land development and financial security agreements for the reimbursement of the township's reasonable engineering, inspection, legal, and related administrative costs, expenses related to the further reviews, inspections, and development of the project. There are 2 waivers listed. Waiver from section 301-300, point 1, that the preliminary and final plan shall be considered separate submissions is hereby either approved or denied by council. And 2, section 703A and section 703C to remit certain existing roof drains on the property to continue to remain as installed when such sections prohibit roof drains from connecting directly to the streets, sanitary and storm waters or roadside ditches is hereby either approved or denied by council. So ends the reading of the resolution.
Thank you. I'd like to thank our township engineer, Mike Galante, for joining us, for superintendent of the school district, Dan McGarry, and his fabulous team that he has with him, and I'll let him take care of the proper introductions. And I appreciate you all being here to help answer any further questions that council may have on this resolution. So before we get into any questions, we need a motion to approve resolution 28-21.
I'd like to make a motion to approve it.
Oh, wait, sorry.
There are 2
Waivers.
that need to be addressed in the motion.
Okay, so would you like us to include the waivers into the motion or to have the waivers separately?
No, they would need to be included in the motion.
Okay, so when I clarify my motion, I should re-clarify that.
Correct, and I don't know if council would like to hear from the township engineer as per his recommendation regarding the waivers.
Good point. Engineer Galante, can you give us a little background on these waivers so we have clarity?
Yeah, good evening. There are 2 waivers that the applicant is requesting, 1 preliminary final. This is pretty typical. Applicant is really not proposing to increase their building footprint. They're mainly proposing site improvements and demolishing of some existing structures. So given the nature of the site plan, preliminary and final approval granted at the same time is acceptable. The waiver for the roof drains, this is something I worked on with the applicant during their review process. I think we went through 2 reviews. The applicant is working to disconnect as many roof drains as feasible on the site. Keep in mind that waiver does say sanitary. If there's any roof drains connected to sanitary, that would not be allowed. So anything, it's more for direct connection to a storm system. Ideally, what that waiver is trying to achieve, or what the stormwater ordinance is trying to achieve, is that any roof drains that discharge from a site go over grass prior to a pervious surface prior to discharging into a storm system. What the applicant is doing is taking a majority of the runoff on that site and routing it to a rain garden to kind of overcompensate for that. So we felt like that waiver was warranted as well.
Great, thank you for that clarification. So I'm going to revise my motion request, a motion for the approval of resolution 28-21 and the waivers for section 300.1 and sections 303.A and 303.C waivers to be included in the motion. Can I get a motion?
like to make a motion
Okay,
to approve it.
Gwen
Seconded.
and Sadiq. Are there any questions or concerns on this resolution? I see Burke. Hold on. Go ahead, Councilman Burke.
So the question is just on the two waivers or just the project itself, President Wentz?
So the motion is to approve the land development resolution and the two waivers at the same time.
Can I ask a couple of questions about the land development before or after the vote?
No, this is the time for questions
Okay.
and concerns.
Okay,
This
thanks.
is your time to ask questions on all of the above.
Okay, thank you. So,
You're welcome.
The question is to our engineer, Mike Galante. Spent an hour out there last Thursday with Mike, represented the school district and a lot of the neighbors. A lot of good information, Mike. With the neighbors walking behind the houses, walking on the property. You had some concerns and some ideas and some new ideas that you're going to take back to the architect and the engineers. How'd you make out with that? Were they okay with it, or in the process of talking about it, some buffer zones and some areas that me and you spoke about? Councilman Gwynn and Mayor Keffer were also there. It was a good conversation, Mike. So just to give the rest of the council that wasn't there some enlightenment about some of the good information and ideas that you also had. So
I think the mayor wanted to speak. Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to say real quickly that meeting on Thursday was organized by me and our office. I invited everybody from council there and Mike Galante so that we could hear the concerns of the neighbors about the dialysis business there. So I just, Councilman Burke, I just want to just highlight, it was kind of an organized meeting. I walked to every door and gave them a notice and asked them to come out so that we could hear everything. So it wasn't just a spontaneous, whatever you're trying to say it was.
I was saying it was a great meeting.
It was a great
organized
meeting.
It was organized by the administration. That's how I got invited.
Right.
I wasn't slighting anybody. It was just that Councilman Gwynn, myself, and you, I mentioned, and Mike were there along with the administration representative up at Darby of the school district.
Mhm.
Don't know where you're going at it, but I said it was a great meeting.
Yeah.
Maybe you misunderstood me. And Mike had
I don't
great
think so.
So I thank you very much, Mayor Keffer, for hosting that meeting. I'm very sorry that I was unable to attend. Can you give us some background on that meeting and how it went?
Generally, it's a really interesting, one of our newer neighborhoods. It's across the street from the Acme on Lansdowne Avenue, and there's a new business that was before we took office. They were allowed to build this dialysis business. There's just a lot going on there with traffic, with parking, with how the business is taking care of their property. And there's also 8201, which is on the other side of many of the neighbors' houses. So yeah, it was a really good meeting. And I think these kind of neighborhood meetings where we actually go out to the neighborhood, talk to people, are really valuable because we get to see what exactly they're talking about. So they do have some concerns about 8201. Maybe some of them are here tonight to voice them, but we'll see. So.
Thank you. Yes,
Yeah,
I was in that neighborhood within the last couple of weeks, and I did speak to some residents, and I told them about the improvements that the school district had planned for that property that was right behind them. So I did get a chance to talk to some residents about it. So thank you. Councilman Burke, I don't know if you were,
Yeah.
I don't think you were done. Sorry.
No, I thought we were on the subject of 8201, not the Vita property, but that's fine.
It's right behind it.
But the presentation's on 8201. Thank you.
Yes, but for these residents, it affects them because behind their house, so behind their house is 8201. In front of their house is the dialysis. So
I
it
understand.
affects, the whole thing affects them, which is the intent. So, but please continue.
It's finished. The Vita's finished, and Dr. McGarry's here about 8201, not about the dialysis center. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Gwynn, was that your hand? I'm sorry, I do
Yeah.
see Bonnet, but Councilman Gwynn, go ahead, and then Councilman Bonnet. Go ahead, Councilman Gwynn.
There were some questions that have been brought up by the neighborhood relative to the development here. Some questions about the volume of the buses that would be there and their proximity. I think Mr. Galante had some ideas that he was going to share with the school district to approach these problems. I wanted to hear what his response was or the school district's response relative to those.
Yeah, we did, just to elaborate, we did immediately go and talk to the school district, talk to their operations, had a conference call. And I think the answer to the buses and the questions that the neighbors had is actually on the plans that the applicant prepared. And I think they could easily describe how the existing operation is, how the proposed operation is, and how they're looking to improve it. And I would leave that up to them to make that argument, of course.
Okay.
And they're here. I believe Dan McGarry's here and Craig Rogers, or Craig Hornacek. Sorry, Craig Hornacek. You can talk about the operation and how maybe they could share their screen and show the bus plan, if that's something that the council would like to see.
And there was also a situation that when I first became a councilman, I had an individual come up to me and say that she needed to have a handicap spot in there to get to her, park her car and have it close to the relative bus. And I didn't see there was handicap parking that was there for the school district employees that were going in on the school side, but I didn't see it relative to the bus side. I wondered what they may have done relative for that. And also, concern down the road. I know we have our buses driven diesel engines now or gas engines, and they, I suspect, are going to be going down to some electronic hybrid type of vehicles in the future. I don't know if we tend to put any plans for underground, I'll call it a casway, to allow for power to go to a charging station or to create charging stations for possible future uses for hybrid vehicles.
Okay,
That would be the school district. The school district could answer
School
that.
district, yes.
They plan on putting charging stations. Yeah.
Oh, they
Good
do
evening.
now.
If they
Yes,
do.
please take
If they
away.
do. Yeah.
Yes, we don't have charging stations per se. We do have the conduit and we do have the stand-ups in the islands, in the parking areas at this point in time. Since there wasn't an immediate requirement, we opted just to provide the empty conduits out to those locations along with other services.
That's a wise move.
Yeah. With regard to the handicapped access on the south lot of the property, we do not have anyone that would be operating in that area that requires a handicap. So we decided to take, in working with conjunction with Mike, to move those spaces to the north lot because that's where the public could make better utilization. There will be no public parking on the south lot for anyone, with the exception of employees who are typically maintenance people and don't have any mobility limitations as such. With regard to working with the neighbors, Mike's made some really positive suggestions as to how we would handle the noise issues moving forward. Currently, the buses, due to the restrictions of the site, are stacked heavily around the perimeter. With this new modification, and Kevin, can you pull up a site plan? There we go. What we've done is more judiciously moved the buses to the interior of the lot, further away from the property lines. Currently, we have buses that operate on a daily basis about 20 feet from the property line. And we've spoken to the neighbors on 2 separate occasions. We have a 3rd scheduled in-person meeting with them in June. And we're going to go over these issues in greater detail with them, but we've addressed some of their early concerns. Now, Kevin, can you point to the gas-powered buses? You'll see along the property line, those are gasoline-powered vans, more or less. Very low noise levels, and they do not leave early in the morning with our early departures. The larger buses on the easternmost part, that's our graveyard group. Those buses do not physically operate on a daily basis. They're there for cannibalization of parts, buses awaiting repairs, or buses that are physically at the end of their lifespan, more or less, and we're waiting for them to either be salvaged or sold. If you can see towards the center of the south parking lot, we've taken our larger buses fronting in that first queue, and then the medium-sized buses directly across from that. And those would be the buses that we allocate to our early departure, the 5 a.m. departures. And that's for servicing out-of-district special needs students. Those buses travel a great distance, so they're early departures. The lion's share of our bus fleet operates in the 6:15 to 6:45 runs. And those would move further from that queue to the secondary staging queue. Again, the secondary stage queue is over 72 feet from the property line. And Mike had asked us to do some DB testing. And we've tested at 10-foot increments throughout. And that information we're happy to share with you. But at approximately 70 feet from the front or rear of the bus, we're measuring 62.7 dB and 61.3 dB. And as I said earlier, the distance from the second queue of buses is 72 feet from the property line, a little bit further, obviously, than 70. And to give you a frame of reference, normal conversation runs at about 60 dBA. So that's a big improvement. Another concern of the neighbors was the reversing alarms, which are approximately 80 to 88 dBA. They'd asked if there's anything we can do to eliminate the sound of the reversing alarms in the early hours. So what we're doing now is reversing all buses into parking spaces at the end of the drive shift or the daily shifts. So in the morning, when the buses begin their movements, they're pulling out directly. There'll be no reversing activity. And then another comment was access to the rear yards of the neighbors and preservation of the trees along the property line. We're setting our fences back. We were actually out there the other day. We've discovered 2 large caliber trees along that property line. And in the interest of trying to preserve them, we're going to move the fence line a little bit further back onto our property. And that will also provide access to the neighbors, which was a concern of theirs, which I think some of the council people heard at the meeting the other day regarding the dialysis suite.
Thank you. And I, one of the things that I did say to one of the neighbors I spoke with was that in your plan, you had a lot of trees in your design for that buffer between your property and the residents. So that also helps to reduce sound as the trees grow.
That's correct. There are a lot of additional trees in addition to, you can see the landscaped islands throughout the plan. where we're adding deciduous trees and also evergreens. And then there's some minor shrubs that are also going to be added for masking. Also along the south line, the neighbors had asked for a physically opaque fence that we're going to be installing along that property line. And then along the frontage, Mike had requested we do an ornamental fence that would have visibility for the police to see into the lot during off hours, just from a safety standpoint. And the neighbors didn't have any objections to that.
Great, thank you. So next up, we have Councilman Bonnet, and then I have Councilman Silva in the queue. So Councilman Bonnet, you have some questions?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I voiced my comments before at the last meeting about this, and I find that it's aesthetically and functionally a significant improvement over what is there. I think it's an improvement from the standpoint of access to the baseball field in the back, the parking at the far north side of that site, where the buses were kept and are now going to be moved to the south lot. I think that's an improvement for parking by parents and other spectators that will patronize that field, the use of that field with the youth sports. I'm very pleased to hear that there was an opportunity taken to meet with the residents, both from the township and the school district. One thing that I am critical of is the fact that this project has been around since last year. We just became aware of it this month as a council. We need to do a better job. We, as well as the school district, have an obligation to make these kinds of significant projects available to our constituents. This project, as I recall, is going to have a construction cost of about $12.5 million. That's not the end all as far as costs, because if that's the construction cost, you're going to add a few more $1 million or a couple more $1 million for soft costs on top of that. So this has to be at least a $14 million venture on the part of the school district, and that goes right to our taxpayer. This project is funded by our taxpayer. So we need to do a better job as a township to get these projects out earlier. And the township administration has to do a better job to get this information in our hands at the earliest possible time. The actual Delaware County Planning Department review report was dated this past December 2020. So there is no excuse for us not to have heard about this prior, to this month. I think it's a good project. I'm certainly in favor of it. I just think we need to do a better job to make our constituents aware of these kinds of projects, particularly when they're paying for it. One other thing, a benefit to this site is the removal of our sanitation trucks, for sure. And it looks like where the sanitation trucks were, you're putting the mothball fleet of buses, which was stated by Mr. Harnachek that are going to be used mainly for salvaging parts. I consider that, believe it or not, an improvement to the use of that part of the site, particularly since it's going to be landscaped as well. Where are we placing our? Where do we determine that we're going to put our sanitation vehicles?
Sorry, I can't see everyone.
Can we go back to full screen?
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to do that. Can somebody help? I can't quite figure out how to do that.
There you go.
Oh,
you go.
Perfect.
Okay. So on the administration side, Mayor Keffer, do we have an idea of where our trash trucks are going yet, or are we still trying to figure that out? Or Deputy CAO, whoever wants to weigh in?
Yes, we certainly are working on some plans and do have some ideas. I'm not prepared to share that I would need to consult with Vince about where we are currently. Sorry
Well,
about that.
please get that information out to council as early as possible. I understand that there may be some deliberations over that right now, but we would like to, and we need to know about that as members of council. And as soon as you possibly can get that information to us. Thank you.
Great. Superintendent McGarry, would you like to?
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to, Craig Harnachek jumped in. I appreciate him. He's a new member of the Upper Darby administration. Kevin Gottschall's one of the architects. We have Tim Brennan, who's an engineer with us. We have John Urick, who's also our traffic engineer. Kim Freemuth, our attorney, is on the call this evening. Craig Rogers, our CFO, is on the call. And Tim Leaf, head of our maintenance department's on the call as well. So first, I just want to say to all the council members and everybody that are here spending your time tonight, thank you to support this community. I think it goes a long way. They're never easy. The nights go long, and I appreciate you powering through, because it means a lot to me as a superintendent working with children. This project is directly tied to improvements that we're trying to make in the school community to improve the lives, academic lives of the kids that we serve. So I appreciate your willingness to hear us this evening to go through this project. I wanted to just briefly mention Mr. Bennett, last meeting, and Mr. Wagner, I wasn't able to, I thought it had ended last month or last meeting. So I heard there were some comments made about our making this available to the public. And I promised that I would provide the public dates and how you can access that information first and foremost. And I'll give you some dates. And if anybody would like me to supply the actual places to find this publicly on the website, I'm more than happy to. And these are just 9 examples going back to May 26th, 2020, June 2nd, 2020, June 16th, 2020, July 14th, 2020, October 27th, 2020, December 2020, February 23rd, 2021, May 11th, 2021, May 21st, 2021. And there's been outreach to community members and neighbors in at least 2 meetings that we've had. We've gone out and met with neighbors and had virtual meetings with neighbors. And so this project has been discussed well over a year with a lot of public comment and a lot of an opportunity explaining the project and the need for the project, as well as the working with the township. I want to say thank you to Allison Dobbins in particular. And I know Mr. Rangione is not able to make the call this evening, but we have gone back and forth, and Mr. Galante trying to work together to solve issues and problems. And I want to say thank you to your willingness and openness to meet with us, to put our kids in the community first. That means a lot to me. As far as the sanitation is concerned, we've been working with, as much as we can, working with the township to provide, support while you're looking for some areas. And I know there might be some complications. We've been working on a way to help refuel some trash trucks, a few trash trucks, until you can figure that out. And also working on some solutions while this project is up and running, working with the township on ways to fuel trucks as well. So we're going to continue to partner with the township as much as we can. And I appreciate you hearing us tonight, because this project is really important. It's tied to one of the most important projects we are beginning, breaking ground on June 8th, the Aronimink Elementary School project. And so I just wanted to make that point this evening and make sure that I'm here and available to answer any questions that you have. And I appreciate your willingness to listen to us this evening.
Thank you. And thank you for the updates on all the dates you listed, and that you're breaking ground it was June 2nd?
We have a June 8th groundbreaking
sorry.
ceremony for the Aronimink project.
For Aronimink. Awesome. That's wonderful. Okay. And Councilman Silva.
Thank you, Council President Wentz. To Mr. McGarry's comment, I want to thank the school district too for letting us know not only about their public days that they were sharing this information with the public, but also the way that they worked in that public comment. But I feel like we've heard a lot on this issue. I also agree with my colleagues that I think this will be an excellent improvement over the site as it is now. And I would like at this time to call the question so we can move forward with this and help the school district get
I'll
this
like to
done.
second that.
Second.
Okay, so that was Silva and Tunis Jr. with a third with Phillips. So the motion on the floor at the moment is to call the question. All those in favor of calling the question, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say your name. Thank you. Ayes have it. So we are moving on to the actual vote on the resolution 28-21, including the two waivers that are in the resolution, section 300.1, as well as sections, the second waiver being 307.A and 703.A and 703.C. All those in favor, actually, Ms.
Roll
Bill,
call.
do you want to do a
Roll
roll
call.
call? That would be
Yeah.
great. Thank you. You read my mind.
Counselor Tunis,
Yes.
Counselor Billups is a yes. Counselor Silva,
Yes.
Counselor Blackwell,
You need to unmute yourself.
I'll come back to her.
Okay.
Counselor Gwynn,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Siddiq,
Yes.
Counselor Faralia. She may not have been able to get back on, so
Okay. So she's excused.
excuse, yes. Counselor Barnett,
Yes.
Counselor Wagner,
No.
and Council President Wentz.
Yes, and Counselor
Blackwell,
you got to unmute yourself or type into the chat.
Council President, is there any way to reach out to her privately just to make sure she's all
Yep.
connected?
Yep.
I just did. Oh.
Okay, we're gonna go with I just tried calling her, she wasn't able to answer, so we're gonna go with an excused absence, and hopefully she'll come back and join us.
So there's one no, two excuse. And the rest are yes.
Great. So it passes.
Yes.
Eight yes. Yes, great. Thank you very much to everyone from the school district for joining us. We greatly appreciate all of your hard work and for you sharing your knowledge with us on this project, and all your hard work on answering, solving the problems of the concerns of the community and so forth. We greatly appreciate you. And we look forward to the changes happening in our community. So thank you.
Ms. Wentz, if it's okay, can I just have one comment if it's appropriate?
Yes, of course.
I just want to say thank you for all of your time and your effort and energy. It means a lot. Again, thank you. Moving this district and the community forward, I think we just want to be a partner in doing that. And I want to say to the mayor, Barbara Ann Keffer, I appreciate you reaching out and providing us an opportunity to meet with neighbors. When you're going out, you've always made it a point to contact me, and I'll continue to do the same exact thing with your team and administration. And to the council people on this call, to Mr. Bennett's point, we will be asking to include you on our communications from the school district. And so that in the future, when we put out projects or communications, you might get annoyed by the number of phone calls or emails. but we're looking to include you in communications that are going out from the school district to keep you also informed. And that way information will come to you. You can read it. You can take a look at it as well. So I just want to share that. And thank you for your support this evening and for all the time that you put into everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
including us on those emails. We will greatly appreciate receiving them. Councilwoman Blackwell, do you want to weigh in on Resolution 2821 and all of its waivers? Do you support that resolution?
Yes.
Awesome. Got you in.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So next up, we have Finance and Appropriations Committee, co-chairs Gwynn Jr. and Silva, members Blackwell and Burke. Resolution number, cat passing, 29-21, mine said 12. I think it was just a typo. So 29-21. Solicitor Richardson, please take it away.
Thank you, Council President Wentz. This is a resolution authorizing application to the Greenways Trails and Recreation Program through the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, DCED. Whereas Upper Darby Township desires to apply for the Greenways Trails and Recreation Program through the DCED to fund the development of the Cardington Newtown Trail, and whereas Upper Darby Township recognizes that the Greenways Trails and Recreation Program funding for the Cardington Newtown Trail would be an asset to the township. Whereas Upper Darby Township desires to apply and request funding from the DCED Greenways Trails and Recreation Program to develop of the Cardington Newtown Trail, and now therefore be it resolved that 1, the township is hereby authorized to apply for, execute, and submit an application to the DCED Greenways Trails and Recreation Program for up to $250,000. 2, Mayor Barbara Ann Keffer or her designee is authorized to execute all documents and agreements needed to facilitate and assist in obtaining the requested grant. 3, the township is authorized to provide such assurances, certificates, application fees, and supplemental data or revised data that may be requested in connection with the application and administration of the Greenways Trails and Recreation Program. So ends the reading of the resolution.
Great, thank you. Can we get a motion to approve Resolution 29-21?
I'd like to make a motion.
So I see
I'd like to second.
Gwynn and Sadiq and Tunis. Sadiq and Tunis. Okay, are there any questions or concerns on this resolution? Seeing Councilman Gwynn, go ahead.
Just want a quick question. Is there any matching grant that, or any matching funds that we have to do for this grant, to your knowledge, Mayor?
Say like in our capital improvement budget, we have budgeted a significant amount of money for the matching funds, so that we have flexibility. Like when a grant comes up that we are interested in or fits into or what we're doing. So yes, we have the funds budgeted for that. It is a matching grant program. So as most of them are, really, you know.
Yeah. Do you know if it's like 10% or?
It's 50-50.
50-50, okay.
Yeah, so just let you know, PICO also gave us $10,000 in a growing grant for the same project. And that's just no matching, nothing. Like, here's $10,000, you know, do a study, do a environmental, whatever, you know. So but those are few and far between, and they are mostly from private entities that just like cut you a check. But this grant application is going to the state, and there's usually a little, they want to see you spend money before they reimburse you. So so that just means we have to be a little bit more organized, you know, than, you know, just catching a check and doing what we want with it. But yeah.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. That's good to know. Any other questions or concerns on this resolution? Seeing none. All those in favor of passing resolution 29-21, please signify by saying aye. Please turn on your mics. Mics on.
Aye.
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 No, say your name. Thank you. Ayes have it. Great. So next up, we have solicitors.
Thank you, President Wentz. We, the solicitors have been, as always, working on multiple projects in the township, more specifically working on real estate assessment appeals, also any agreements that need to be done. Also been working with the school district on multiple projects that have been popping up. And as Superintendent McGarry has shared so far, and then also any requests that are done by the administration. Were there any questions from council?
Does council have any questions for our solicitors? Great, seeing none. Next up is old business. Anyone have any old business? And Councilman Tunis, thank you for hanging out as long as you did. He is not feeling well as a result of his second shot. So he's gonna leave us to go feel better, hopefully soon. So, okay, so.
I have some old business, Council President.
Go for it.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to reiterate too, from the mayor's message, I just want to thank the Garriford Fire Department. I also, and the Garriford Primo C. Kane Fire Department members that came out and helped clean out Creek Road on Sunday. They were a huge help. They did a tremendous job, and I absolutely appreciate them coming out despite there was a lot of heat, but the guys did great work. I guess they're firemen, maybe they're used to it, but it was absolutely, they did a wonderful job. And I also want to thank everybody that participated, both our presenters and all the council people that helped with putting together the job fair yesterday. That went very well. I'm pleased to announce that someone already sent a thank you email to us to say that they received a job from the job fair, which is exactly why we do it. And we're, I just want people to not give up. It's kind of, I know it's been like kind of a long pandemic and all, but it's time to, there's a lot of jobs out there right now and they're looking for people. They really want people to come back into the workforce. So we hope everybody will do that. So thank you again for the wonderful events again Sunday and yesterday.
Great, Councilwoman Billups.
Sorry, just want to piggyback on what Councilman Silver said about our job fair. I thought it was successful. We thought it was successful. Thank you to everyone that came out. And also want to thank the fire department also and Chief Sawyer for coming out to the Second Ward playground and helping clean up. It's still pretty clean. We also cleaned up around the area. So, and the mayor for coming out and asking and answering some of the residents' questions. So thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Councilman Siddiq.
I think Michelle covered the things what I plan to say, but I would like to thank Michelle to initiate the Second Ward playground to clean up. And also thanks all the officials who present over there.
Great. Any other old business? I just wanted to thank the events planning committee for hosting such a successful job fair. And just wanted to point out, as soon as the job fair is able to get onto our YouTube, it'll, we'll share the link onto the YouTube. Majority of the jobs that were, that the employers were offering were way above minimum wage, closer to, majority of them were over $15 an hour. So they were offering living wage jobs, many with benefits and so forth. So a lot of job opportunities. So if you missed the job fair, when we're able to get on the Township YouTube page, please watch it because there were so many employers that had so many different jobs available, and you can see their presentations from the YouTube of the event. So definitely check it out. So thank you, council members, for volunteering your time to make that happen. And I know that you're planning on doing another one in the fall, and each time it gets 100 times better than before, as if it could get any better than what you're already doing. So I greatly appreciate you. And I have
So just to piggyback on what the other council had stated, thank you for all the vendors that participated. We could not have been successful without you, and we greatly appreciate your support for everybody that participated. You have a question, Councilman Silva?
I do. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say, and I should have mentioned it before. I also wanted to say thank you to Jess Brandis, who again handled all the technical elements of the event and was phenomenal. Yeah. So, and I just want to thank, and she lives in Upper Darby, Sea Cane. So I'm glad she was there to help us again. And oh, I also wanted to say anyone that registered for the job fair is going to receive like information from the presenters that we compile a list, so we share that with them as a resource. So if people still wanted to email UD Council Events Committee at gmail.com, they could to be included on that list, because we actually got a couple emails since the job fair about it. So again, thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, my cat Felix decided to put my computer on airplane mode. So of course I lost my Wi-Fi. So
what a smart, goodness. The cat is doing wonders.
He likes to type. So all right. So thank you, Councilman Silva, for giving us that information, and Ms. Phillips. So next up is new business. Who's got new business? Okay, I see Councilman Barnett and then Wagner. So go ahead, Councilman Barnett.
Thank you. I have a couple of issues. First of all, I have a recommendation that in the future that we put the public forum before any public presentations. I think that might be more appropriate, so people don't have to hang on unnecessarily if they don't wish to. I just, in this case, go ahead.
Actually, sorry, just part of the reason why I was having the presentations before the public forum was that in case the residents had any questions about the presentation, they would have the opportunity to ask the question, and that the presenters were there to answer the questions. And that was the original intent for the purpose of the sequence. Granted, this evening's presentation was a lot longer than I expected. So
maybe what we could do then is maybe set limits on timeframes for presentations, which is not inappropriate, because it's often done at public meetings to set a time limit.
Okay, I will work on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Number two, effective on Memorial Day, the governor's COVID-19 restrictions will be lifted, and except for the requirement to wear masks in public. As a result of that, I'd like to move for the Township Council to return to in-person public meetings beginning with the June 2nd, 2021 council meeting.
So as far as those restrictions, my understanding that it's up to the individual municipalities to decide what is most appropriate for them as far as where they are in the lifting of the restrictions. As far as council itself is concerned, we cannot return to council chambers while there's any social distancing requirements, and because our chambers are too small, and there's no way for our public to take part. But it really is up to the mayor and the administration to set the requirements of when they're ready for our township to go back. So I have to pass that on to them.
Well, I have a motion on the floor to do it. I believe we can do it. We could find a different venue to do it if necessary. We have a high school with a huge auditorium. Perhaps the school district would be willing to work with us. I think it's imperative that we get back in front of the public in person as soon as possible. And it is possible under those circumstances where we can create the social distancing required. And it's really questionable whether social distancing is in fact mandatory at this point. But at this point, I do believe that we can find a venue to do that, and we should. My motion stands.
So you've made a motion? Okay.
I second it. I second that motion.
Okay, I gotcha. Finette. And Wagner.
Question.
Question on the motion? Yes,
Yes.
Councilman Quinn?
I understand what you're saying, Mr. Burnett, but I worry about the individuals, either both in the audience as well as for our council members, where they haven't gotten the vaccination yet, and or they've gotten the first shot, they may have not yet received their second shot. Are we going to be restricting it to those who are vaccinated?
No, I don't believe so. I believe we can still accomplish that. People can make a decision whether they want to attend our meetings. No one's forced to attend our meetings. I believe we can do so and keep the social distancing that might be appropriate for the circumstances if we have the right place to do it. And the high school auditorium is a very large space, and I can't envision that we can't, if we were able to use that, and I do believe the school district would cooperate with us, that we couldn't maintain very ample distancing between individuals that choose to maintain social distancing.
Point of
Anyone, in fact, must wear a mask to keep with the governor's standing restriction, because that is not being waived as of Memorial Day.
CAO, Deputy CAO Dobbins and Mayor Keffer would like to weigh in on this. So please go ahead.
I mean, I can defer to the mayor. I did just want to raise the point of information that we have discussed this with the school district. The school district plans to continue using their current COVID safety plan through the end of the summer, and therefore does not plan to open their buildings for public meetings, is my understanding at this time.
Thank you for that clarification. Mayor Keffer? Did you want to add?
I mean, I'll just piggyback on what Deputy CAO Allison Dobbins said, and we're not going to go against the school district. They're not having in-person meetings in September. They're not allowing their buildings for gatherings until then. So I don't see what the hurry is. More people have been watching our meetings, contributing to our meetings since we went virtual. And I don't want to do this forever. Believe me, not ideal, but I'm not going to go against the school district. We don't have the budget for it. We'd have to rent space from the school district buildings as you had proposed, Councilman Burnett. Let's just ride it out for the summer and see how it goes.
I believe that we can accomplish this. Again, my motion stands. I think that perhaps
let's
we
put
can.
it to a vote. Right, you made a motion, somebody seconded it. Councilman Wagner, let's put it to a vote. That's fine.
Point of information, I recognize that Chief Municipal Clerk Cicchetti is not here, but I believe that given that the June council meeting is next week, that it may have already been advertised.
Right, there is no chance of a June 2nd meeting being anywhere other than Zoom, because it was advertised 2 weeks before the meeting. So
All right, I'll amend my motion to make it the June, what would be 16th meeting?
Sorry, just checking my calendar. Yes, June 16th.
Okay.
I see Councilman Wagner, you were next, and then Councilman Silva and Phillips.
Yeah, I didn't need to weigh in further on this. I just agree with what Don Barnett has sent. I have an entirely separate item of new business. That's why my hand was up.
Okay, so I'll go back to you later.
Thank you.
Councilman Silva?
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Council President.
Hi.
For one thing, for one thing, I kind of object to these new order resolutions or what have you, whatever we're calling it, motions, I guess, because, you know, it just seems ironic to me. It comes from the same group that's concerned that we don't have enough time to review things. And then all of a sudden at, 11 or whatever at night, we're supposed to make a flash decision about something for the rest of the year. But that's besides the point. I also don't think that it's entirely appropriate for us to be making this decision right now because for a group of reasons. Actually, most important, I think, being for the public safety. I don't feel like it's necessary. I know a lot of us are vaccinated or whatever, and I think that's great, but not all of us can be vaccinated. As of right now, people under the age of 12 cannot be vaccinated. And I don't think it's fair for us to be hosting meetings in public that are not required or not necessary to be done that way, because they would further risk people who have youth at home who are not vaccinated. That's my own opinion, especially as somebody who has a child like that in their home. I also don't want to be basically at the whims of people in the public who decide whether or not that they feel safe, whether or not they've conducted themselves safely during this pandemic or not. That's my own personal concerns. But at the same time too, and I don't understand why we would then add an additional expense of renting a space or to jump through all these hoops and hurdles to do something that in reality, I think that we've done an excellent job of making our meetings as accessible as possible during this whole pandemic. And I think in a lot of ways, they're actually more accessible than they would be if they were conducted in person. I've attended many meetings that happened during the daytime because of this ability to have things accessed on YouTube, things to be live, things that were streamed that I would not have been able to attend because of other obligations. So I think we should continue as is. I think we're doing an excellent job being accessible and being fair, and many more people are contributing via public comment. So I don't see the need to make this change. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Councilwoman Billups?
I'm okay. I just want to piggyback on what Councilman Silva said. I get it. Everybody, whoever's vaccinated or who's not, and things are opening up, and we want to be out in where we want to be out at. But I don't necessarily think it's okay to rush it yet, especially if the school is not open until the end of September. So, and we're always talking about money, and so that's unnecessary expense if we don't have to do it. So, I'm perfectly okay with waiting until the school board says that they're opening up their building. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, concerns? Councilman Barnett, you already spoke on it. I just want to see if anyone else had a question or concern. Councilman Billups, or sorry, Burke.
Thank you, President Wentz. So I'm under the understanding that we are in conversation with the school district, and when they go back, there's a chance that we might go back into the school district, even if we don't feel safe in our own chambers. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, we've been discussing with them on what the accessibility of things are. If social distancing is still a requirement of any kind. If social distancing is a requirement, we cannot be in our in our council chambers. So if that is the case, when the school district does decide to go back, then we will have to deal with having to be in a school auditorium. There will be expenses to that, whether it's the high school or a middle school auditorium. The high school has a really good sound system. The middle schools do not. So obviously, once their building opens up again, they're going to have theatrical productions, concerts, and all kinds of things that we would have to compete with for space for the days of our council meetings, especially during the fall when we are in budget mode and we have a few more meetings than normal versus any other time of the year. So yes, it's something that we are discussing. We will have an increase in costs to pay for the rentals of the space, as well as the employees that have to be there to have us use their space. And if we're in elementary schools, then we may need to look into having our own sound system, portable sound system. So there's a whole lot of moving pieces in that equation. So because we won't be able to share microphones anymore, things like that, right? So we're going to have more spacing. We're going to, you know, because normally when we were in the chambers, it was 2 people to a mic. Well, that's not going to be able to happen again. So we're going to need more microphones whenever we do go back to a certain degree anyway, depending on what's still in place, right? I'm also greatly concerned about if there is a resurgent because of not everyone being vaccinated and so forth. So, you know, I just want to put that out there. But to answer your questions, yes, we're in conversation. Yes, if we cannot be in our chamber, we will have to be somewhere in the school district realm. And yes, we're in communications with them on that.
That's great to hear. Thank you.
Okay. And then, so anyone else besides Councilman Bonnet, just to make sure we've covered everyone else's concerns? Seeing none, Councilman Bonnet.
Thank you. There seems to be among some of us a real reason not to do this, because we do a much better job having this broadcast on YouTube. By no means should we cease broadcasting on YouTube. I think we could meet in person, continue to broadcast on YouTube, and there's no better place to do it than the place that is equipped with all the video and sound equipment than the Upper Darby Performing Arts Center, the auditorium of the Upper Darby High School. And I think that we ought to give very serious thought to continuing to broadcast our meetings, even when we do go back to in public session, in personal public session, I should say. And I think that we're trying to find many reasons not to do this, more than attempting to find reasons why we could do this as soon as possible. That is to get back into personal, personally attending public meetings. Thank you.
So just to clarify, we have always been looking to improve our situation to continue virtual. Virtual is here to stay forever. So that is forever in our equation. Just wanted to, or some form of streaming of our meetings for sure. And I think we had a block grant, or part of the capital budget was to also do improvements in our chambers to be able to improve the sound and the ability for virtual streaming. So that's part of the equation. I see Mayor Keffer. Go ahead.
I'm going to say real quick, I don't know how many people are actually watching this or recording it, but Councilman Bonnet, you've been on council since 84, 86, or whenever you were first appointed. I rallied often about having our meetings videotaped, which they are now, right? They are now through YouTube, and we want to continue that to have some accountability. It's great. I'm glad you're on board now. You've been the council president up until, for 10 years, I think you were council president until Wentz was elected council president. We're doing the things that you purport to say that you want to do. So we're not ready to have meetings where people are packed into the council room anymore. And we're taking our time. This is a real serious thing. It's a global pandemic, and different decisions are being made at higher levels. We are going to follow the school district. We're not going to rent out any of their buildings while they're not having public meetings in person, right? We're all having public meetings. We'll all get through this. Hopefully by the end of the year, it'll be where the building's open again, and we can have in-person meetings. And I'm pretty happy and actually surprised by how many people have emailed, how many people are now jumping on the new format we have with direct questions. So I mean, I'm really glad you're on board now. That's awesome.
I've been on board.
No, you haven't.
Take it from me. I've been on board.
Council President.
Yes, Councilwoman Billups.
Can I call the question, please?
Sure. Do you have a second?
Yay, I'll second it.
Okay, so call question. Billups and Silva. All those in favor of calling the question on Councilman Barnett's motion, please signify by saying aye. Please turn your mics on. Mics on, mics on, mics on, mics off. Ms. Blackwell, can you turn your mic on?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's on.
All those in favor of calling the question, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say your name. Ayes have it. Thank you. So we're going back to Councilman Barnett's question to have a in-person meeting for June 16th. If you support his motion, then you're voting yes. If you don't support it, you're voting no. Can we get a roll call on this one?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Councilor Tunis, you're back. Councilor Tunis?
No.
Councilor Billups?
Yep.
Councilor Billups is a no. Councilor Silva?
No.
Councilor Blackwell? No. Councilor Gwynn?
No.
Councilor Burke?
No.
Councilor Sadiq?
No.
Councilor Faralia is excused. Councilor Barnett?
Yes.
And Councilor Wagner?
Yes.
And Council President Wentz?
No. Okay.
8 no's and 2 yes and 1 excuse.
Great, thank you. Okay, so also moving on to other new business, Councilman Wagner.
Thank you. I'm sorry to say this will be a lot less interesting. I received a petition just yesterday from 15 of the 16 households on the 1100 block of Lindale Avenue. They are seeking approval to close their block on June 6th to accommodate a block party.
Are we
don't need it.
allowing for block parties? And does that go through council or does that go through administration petition?
Through administration, through Alexis.
Right.
I'll be glad to send it to Alexis.
Yes, please send it to Alexis so she can process it accordingly.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. Any other new business? All right. Seeing none. Ooh. All right. So thank you everyone for being here. Appreciate. Councilman Gwynn.
There is one item that isn't our new business, but it's the school district's new business. They're having a community forum for Cardington at the Cardington Elementary up on the Cardington Field at June 7th, 4 p.m.
Okay, great.
What is that information session on a possible construction of a school? What is that?
Yeah,
Yes.
an elementary school.
Okay, June 7th at 4 PM. That's great. Thank you.
Great. Great. So thank you everyone for taking part in this meeting and dealing with all the technical snags of the thunder and lightning storms, and for the conversations and all of our presenters. Ms. Dobbins did remind me that we did honor Miss Law at our the beginning of May meeting, I forget the date. So we did honor her. I did include her in the moment of silence then. So thank you very much. Please take part in Memorial Day events that are coming up, and we will be posting stuff on our Township Council page for any upcoming events in our community. So thank you, everyone. Can we have one more motion to adjourn?
Like to make a motion, please.
Second.
Sadiq and Gwen. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say your name. Ayes have it. Thank you,
Aye.
Engineer Galante, for being here, and Chief Sawyer, you guys rock.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.